This is why I need a big, strong man in my life to take care of me. No, what is it doing? I just want to change the brightness. Why is this always every time I stream, I just want to lower the brightness on my computer. And it's like, no, we're gonna keep it at 100%. Oh, you.
Is there a way to just turn...
Oh, bitch. Oh, bitch, I found it. No! Oh, I found it. Okay, here we go, brightness.
I don't think he's got it.
He probably doesn't have it. No, probably not.
There we go.
Why don't you guys do ASMR?
Okay, wait, so it's...
Hi. Welcome to...
Oh, yes,
What
here we go, here we go.
gaze think?
Drop in the brightness. Drop this brightness all the fucking way.
And today, we're doing all things ASMR.
Sexy. Oh.
What?
I would never do an ASMR episode, but thank you for coming.
Ooh. Hear my
Here I go.
best Russell. Ooh.
I am recording this time, by the way.
I want to have my movie moment where I took off the glasses again and I'm sexy.
Oh,
My five head.
I
Your
think
hair
you're
looks
just
so wavy.
sexy. It does look very wavy.
I put shampoo in it today. That's why.
Ooh.
Oh.
I actually deep cleaned it and then put the conditioner in. So it's looking
Nice.
very, very nice. It's covering up all of the receding hairline.
I love it. All right,
love it.
let's actually intro ourselves
Really
in.
start.
Yeah, let's intro ourselves in. Pat, do you want to intro us in?
I will intro us in. Hello, everyone. All the people on the podcast platforms, YouTube, wherever you're listening. Welcome to What Do the Gays Think? We are once again joined by Jackie, and I want to get her introduction out of the way first, just because she's the most important aspect of this show.
That's true.
Jackie, hello.
Myself. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm Patrick, and I'm once again joined by my co-host with just the most exuberant amount of energy. He brings me life. He brings me joy. Matt.
I thought you were going to say myself. No.
Myself. I run this whole operation, and anyone who says otherwise is a liar. Hi, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing fabulously. It's still really warm in my room. This is the same thing I said the last episode, and I'm sweating.
Because it hasn't changed, because we're recording the same day.
Yes, we always record one after the other, 2 episodes usually. So just so everyone knows, this is the exact same day as after we recorded Jackie's lovely Cyberpunk 2077 session. So if you're interested in that one, you can go ahead and go back to the previous episode and listen to that. Very fun stuff.
So today I'm asking the question, is there a gay gene?
Oh God.
So really quick, you two, do you think, there's two parts to this question. First part, do you think homosexuality, or we're just going to say same-sex behavior, because it can be all-encompassing, do you think it is a nature versus nurture thing? Like it's either or is it both?
Wait. You said gay gene. I thought you meant like gay jeans, like pants.
Those are the pants that the people in Cyberpunk 2077 wear where their dick falls out. That's a gay gene.
Hanging out. Those are the gay jeans. Yeah. Right.
I'm going to go to Jackie because Jackie's taking this seriously because she's a professional.
Yeah,
She's also a
Matt.
professional streamer. You can find her on Twitch at Jackie_B_bananas. So we'll quick little plug. But Jackie, do you think it's like a genetic basis for same-sex behavior? Is it more of like a societal, like child growing up sort of rearing aspect to it? Is it both?
So I'm not sure how I feel about the nature versus nurture part, but I do feel that it is not a gene. I don't feel like it's a genetic something in our makeup. I think it probably just... I don't even know if it's necessarily, quote, gay. I think it's just probably something that we've almost conditioned out of ourselves and are now just kind of realizing, oops, all berries. It's been there the whole time.
Oops, all gay.
Yeah, oops, all berries. Oops, all gay. And it's been there the whole time, and we're now just kind of trying to figure out, how do we be more gay and inclusionary, etc.
Matt, what do you think?
Here's what I think. I think it can be a mix of both, I think. I totally think that there is a gay gene of some sort. And the reason I think this is because I read something recently where it was like I forget exactly what it was, but someone had made the argument that like it's not evolutionarily beneficial to be gay. So how did we end up having so many gay people with like whatever the percentage of the population is actually gay? Um,
Mhm.
and then I was reading this article that was talking about like, oh, what could possibly be the evolutionary benefits of being gay? And it's like, oh, if you're, a man in a relationship with another man, but you have siblings who are able to reproduce, so they can continue like the bloodline or whatever. Having them close by is actually evolutionary beneficial because you can protect each other. So that's one
Okay.
thing I was reading about. So there is a chance, I think, that it could be genetic in some way and evolutionary, but I don't know. That's just what I was reading.
That's just how Sue sees it.
That is how Sue sees it.
Well, I'll give you my, before I even read up on it, what I thought about it, and then I'll go into like there are two main articles that kind of describe what researchers have found about gay gene. And I don't even like using the phrase gay gene because the most recent article switches to same-sex behavior because that's way more inclusive, accurate. But back in the day, in like the 80s, 90s, it was always the gay gene, and it was almost exclusively studied in men who love men, not women, strangely enough.
Hmm.
So what I thought going in was there's a genetic component, but it's not one gene. It's most likely several genes acting together. Because um, classically, you'll have a gene, so part of the genotype, which is the genetic makeup, and you'll have the phenotype, which is the observable trait on the organism. So, like a gene for brown hair, the phenotype is actually the color brown on the hair. Homosexuality, though, is, in my opinion, obviously way more complicated than a single monogenic system. It's probably polygenic, meaning more than one gene.
Hmm.
So going in, I was like, there's probably a genetic basis, but it's probably like a billion genes. So to start, in 1993, the Hammer Lab, Hammer and Thomas, released this paper, a linkage between DNA markers on the X chromosome and male sexual orientation. So they were only looking at male to male attraction. Basically, I couldn't find the whole paper because it was behind a paywall, and I'm not here to buy it.
No,
I
no,
mean,
Not me.
like, no, even like through my institution, I couldn't find it because sometimes it's
Oh.
like, oh, sign in with your school login and you can get it for free. No,
no.
but I found the abstract, and I will give you. I'm not going to read the whole abstract because it's quite a bit, but I'm just going to give you what the biggest points of it were. So they looked at 114 families, which is nowhere near enough. But remember, this is the 90s, so like, who knows how many people were actually self-reporting as gay, and who knows like the stats back then, what was considered enough of a sample size. So it's 114 families of homosexual men. Particularly, they wanted families who had gay brothers because their DNA would be very similar to each other. And they did two analyses. They looked at the family tree and saw like where were the gay men on? Were they on the maternal or paternal side? And they found that it was more maternal side. So they were like, okay, it's inherited from the mother, so it must be on the X chromosome because uh, when we say sex-based, we're talking about X and Y chromosomes. Obviously, we're
Hmm.
not talking about gender anymore. And the mother, gives the X chromosome when you're talking about a man because the father gives the Y chromosome. So
Interesting.
they're like, okay, more of the men on the mother's side are gay, so it's probably X related. Okay. So they're like, well, let's see if we can find if there are any places on the X chromosome that all of these gay men share together. Because if they do, then there's a chance that that's related to being gay. Basically, what they did was they took the DNA, they cut it all up, and then they did PCR, which is just a method to amplify DNA, and they separated by size. And they saw all of these bands of the same size clumping together from all of these men that were gay, and they were like, oh, okay, so like a lot of these men have this, so there could be a correlation there. And they found that all of them were related to the XQ28 gene. And that's literally the gene that's on the very tip of the X chromosome. So a lot of these men had it.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. I knew he was going to say it. I knew
God.
it. I
God.
saw it. I was like saying it, and I saw him slowly move
I
towards the
know.
So
microphone and
slowly
just like,
leaned
just the
in.
tip.
Oh my God, I should have known.
So
I'm not
And the way
funny. I'm
they,
not funny. Why do you guys have me on this podcast?
I, when you,
It's your
okay, yeah,
podcast.
I know,
I'm the
like,
guest here.
Anyway, continue.
so what they found was of the sib pairs, meaning the pairs of siblings, 64% had this same marker on the X chromosome. So more than half of them. And they did a linkage study, and a linkage study is just a way to determine the distance between two genes. And they said that it had a multi-point LOD score of 4. So Matt, you love stats. Do you know what a LOD score is?
I've heard of it, but I haven't used it in my everyday work experience, so please
Right.
explain it to me.
Okay, so um, LOD scores for geneticists at least is a method of determining if there's linkage between two genes if they're close enough together. So if they're really far apart, your LOD score will be very low because they're most likely not linked. Linked genes are often inherited together. Unlinked genes are often not inherited together. So anything of score 3 or higher means they're very close on the chromosome and they're also linked. So they're probably inherited together.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these fragments they got were very close together. They're all in the same spot, and most of the gay men had them. So they concluded there could be a genetic link to homosexuality in men. It is the XQ28 gene. That's it. It's a wrap on that paper.
So here's what I like about that already. I like how they said could be, um, which
Right. Yeah.
leaves open
Yeah.
like a window for error because correlation doesn't necessarily imply causation. We all know that if we're stat people, then we know
Yeah.
that is true. So I like that they leave it open for more study, into that specific gene. And I hope there's been follow-up studies on that if that is true.
Right.
That would be
So
pretty
that's what we're
interesting.
going to get into.
Nice.
Ooh.
So the last sentence of the abstract, it does kind of leave it open-ended in that it says had a multi-point LOD score of 4. So that's obviously really good, indicating a statistical confidence level of more than 99% that at least one subtype of male sexual orientation is genetically influenced. So it didn't say it was gay, basically. It's
Mm-hmm.
influencing that kind of phenotype, that kind of behavior. And the wording of one subtype of male sexual orientation is very important because when these men were asked questions, they were actually given the Kinsey scale.
Oh,
And they were like, okay, on this scale, where do you fall? And they actually made a point that um, it was getting confusing to have all of these different data points with different scales. So at one point, they just shifted to are you heterosexual, are you homosexual,
right.
to kind of neaten up the groups.
Quick question.
Yes.
What is the Kinsey scale?
Oh, the
Let me
Kinsey's.
explain. It's a scale
Okay.
on a 1 to
Okay.
9, I believe 1 to
Okay.
9 of homosexual. The
Yeah.
last one being the Babadook, furthest on the
Oh,
homosexual scale.
this is yes, 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 yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Mm.
insert that meme there, but Pat can actually explain what it is.
I will send you a picture right now
Oh,
of the
good.
Kinsey
I
scale.
I can't wait.
But it's a level of basically heterosexual to homosexual behavior. And I believe it's a 1 to 6 scale. Let me see.
A 6 to
Yes.
9 scale?
We're both not funny. Me and Jackie are both not funny. Why are we here?
I've sent it to the anyone who's listening. Just Google the Kinsey scale. You'll find so many pictures of it. But this is basically the scale where you go from exclusively heterosexual to exclusively homosexual.
Why is it in rainbow?
It's,
What does
because
each color correlate?
the position, how you feel that day.
Oh my! I'll put this.
69.
I'll also put this picture up on the screen. Oh my god, that was very creepy, Jackie.
Thanks.
I'll put this picture up on the screen on YouTube if anyone wants
Yes.
to actually see it. Sorry, people on the podcast, you're just gonna have to Google it.
Yeah, but
Huh.
it's kind of I don't think today it's useful at all. Because and I'll get into this a little bit more later. It has these like, gradations from heterosexual to homosexual, but it's still like a dichotomy in that on either side is one or the other.
Binary. Yeah.
Yeah, you're living in a binary, but I think at least us in this group know that that's a crock of shit.
No, I think binaries are the future.
Okay, girl. Ones and
Marriage,
zeros.
marriage is exclusively between one man and one woman. Nothing
Right.
else.
Agreed.
Nothing
Nothing
else.
else. Nothing else.
Nothing. So Yeah, they concluded there was evidence that homosexuality in men was maternally inherited via this gene. Um,
Women
and
are
there
the
was,
worst.
I know, if a parent of yours ever asks, why are you gay? She's like, Mom, you gave it to
It's
me.
all
You gave it to
you.
me. It was your
It's all
fault.
me.
Oh, I can blame it on my
Um,
mom now.
You can, yeah.
Mom, you
She'll
there
did
love
was
this
a
to
that. Yeah.
me.
there was a follow-up paper by the same lab in 1995, I think. Um, and they actually looked at males and females now, in terms of their same-sex behavior. And they reaffirmed that for males, it is most likely this XQ28, but it's not in females.
Ooh.
So
Plot
the
twist.
lesbian reporting women did not share this commonality at the X28
Hmm.
gene site, which was interesting.
That's interesting.
Um, I don't know, yeah, because this is done so long ago, and I'm going to get into the most recent study they've done. So I don't know. I don't think this XQ28 stuff is still valid anymore, but when I go into the newer study, it'll kind of become more clear. But before we get there, there's been a lot of issues with this study over time. Uh, for one, in 1994, so that's a year later after the study was reported, an anonymous junior researcher in the lab reported that the data was misrepresented and that the PI, the advisor, misrepresented the data and
Oh.
skewed it to make it look like there was an actual correlation or a cause for Q28 to be the right gene. She was then dismissed from her position, which is the nice way of saying fired.
Oh.
Yep.
Um, and then Hammer, the guy who runs the lab, disputed her claims. The Office of Research Integrity came in. They conducted an investigation and found that there was no scientific misconduct, that everything was above board. Great. There was a study done by the Rice Lab in 1999. Rice is the person's last name. They found no statistically significant linkage between their group of gay brothers for the XQ28 gene. So they were looking, I think it's a Canadian lab, they're looking at Canadian siblings,
Mm.
and they found no connection whatsoever. And then the Hammer lab, the original lab, actually got wind of this. And they did a meta analysis, which is where you basically look at all the research papers in a field. You compare all of the methodologies and you make more conclusions about what could have went wrong or right in an individual experiment. So they did a meta analysis of all of this kind of research in the heritability of being gay and critiqued the Rice paper and actually gave several reasons why they probably did not find any linkage between the gene. So
Ooh.
they have like four different reasons, and they're pretty solid reasons. Like,
Oh.
um, I think Matt will vibe with a few of these as a statistician. Uh, Basically, the Rice lab had an overrepresentation of paternal side lineage. And since the original paper found it's a maternally heritable gene, looking at the paternal side actually skews your data away from that. And your
Mm-hmm.
sample size becomes kind of saturated with male gay people as opposed to maternally gay people, which is going to obviously not show you the linkage of the gene there. Then they said their sample size was insufficient because they lacked the defined criteria of you're either gay or not gay. Basically, the people running it used their own judgment to
Oh?
decide whether someone was gay or not
Oh.
gay. I think at that point they were still reporting with the Kinsey scale.
Okay.
And so that's why there was that kind of error. It wasn't just yes or no. It was very much like, oh, they fell here. Well, I think that's more homosexual than
Is
heterosexual.
he,
Is
That's what they should have been.
he?
It's like, hello,
yeah.
yes, yes, we have a paper we're writing. Are you
You know.
you know? That would have been so much easier because then
Well,
the
honey,
person
by the
would,
cut of those pants, I think you are.
you're wearing bell bottoms in the summer? Hmm.
Okay.
You're
I know
wearing a
where you fall.
scarf? What?
Uh, so they were saying the sample
You're wearing a scarf? Sorry, I just heard that.
Jackie just caught that.
the sample size wasn't good because the researchers were like accurately determining whether they're heterosexual or homosexual. Um, Yeah, they're once again critiquing that they didn't pick enough maternal family members. And then when they did the meta-analysis, when they looked at the pedigree data, so just the family trees, the family tree actually supported the XQ28 theory. It's just the genotype data that didn't because they didn't have enough sample size or enough people in the sample size. So uh, after this meta-analysis, it was like this lab didn't do a good job. And some of their data even supports our data. So really, it's looking like this gene is like one of the best genes to explain homosexuality in men.
Mm-hmm.
There was a quick 2012 study done, and they looked at male sexual orientation, and they did a genome-wide study. So instead of just looking at the X chromosome, they've looked at all your genetic data that you
Oh,
had.
Hmm.
that's a
So your
lot.
whole genome, yeah. They had 409 independent pairs of gay brothers from 384 families. So that's over 3 times the amount of families from the original study. So we're getting larger and larger sample sizes, which is
Nice.
obviously what you need. Obviously, by singling out gay brothers, you do reduce how many you can have because I don't know the likelihood of having a gay brother. Hopefully, someone has a stat on that and they can send it to us, Matt.
I'm not saying shit. I'm not saying shit.
So they looked over 300,000 SNPs. So a SNP is a single nucleotide polymorphism. So on like a gene, you have your ATGC, all your DNA going down the line. One of the base pairs, one of those little A, T's, G's, or C's gets substituted, and that is a single nucleotide polymorphism because it's changed. And when it appears in a large fraction of a population of organisms, it's called a SNP and it's heritable. So you can kind of trace back a lineage just by looking at one base pair in one section of the DNA. So
Hmm.
Oh,
they're really important and powerful because you only got to look at one of them, so it's really easy. There could be a dozen or so or more because of what you're looking at in terms of the whole genome. But if you know exactly what you're looking at, you can kind of trace backwards who inherited what and were they gay, were they not gay, that kind of crap. And they found that the study confirmed once again that there's a linkage between this XQ28 gene and homosexuality. So like this is going through rigorous retesting, retesting, and retesting, and people still be
Wow.
out here thinking it's a good thing. And then we get to the last study, which was done in 2019. It's the title is Large Scale GWAS Reveals Insights into the Genetic Architecture of Same-Sex Sexual Behavior. So now we're in, 2019, 2020, we're using same-sex behavior. We're no longer using gay behavior, lesbian behavior. So this is looking at it all, everything. And it had a lot of interesting data. I've kind of distilled it because a lot of it was stats heavy, and I'm not. Not only was it stats heavy, but it was also like just data analysis heavy. Like just how they manipulated data to look nice or to present it to people. They had a bunch of graphs. I love looking at them. They're colorful.
love
They got
graphs.
they got histograms and shit. But I took the genetic information and distilled it for everyone.
Oh, thank you. Send me the
Thank
paper. I want to look at the
you.
stats though later.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I will. So this was done in 2019, and this is as far as I can tell, like the definitive data we have as of right now of where we're at and understanding same-sex behavior in our genetics. So in both sexes, so we're talking about XX and XY, just because that's unfortunately the dichotomy that they use in science because so little of the population is intersex where you can have like, XXX, XYY, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at the XX or XY chromosomes, there's about 2 to 10% of individuals that have some form of same-sex relations, either exclusively or not exclusively. So you've got everyone in there. You got your gays, your bis, your trans, your pans, everything. Whole kitchen sink.
Whole
So
kitchen sink.
the whole
I'm
kitchen
trying
sink.
to find a way, especially after pans, to find a way to bring it into
Pots,
Pot,
meat.
pots,
pans,
Hot
pans.
plates.
pans. Yeah.
The main selling point of this study was that it's using the largest sample size of any study to kind of determine where they are. So this was done in the United Kingdom. So they had two sources for all of the genetic DNA. They had 23andMe, and
Hmm.
they had the United Kingdom Biobank, where they have genetic information on some people. So they had this was the largest sample size they had.
Hmm.
And now they are trying to identify what genes or markers are responsible for same-sex behavior. So at the end of the day, they found that 5 autosomal loci, which autosomal is all the other genes that are not sex genes. So it's not on the X chromosome, it's not on the Y chromosome, it's somewhere else. So they found 5 of them that were significantly associated with same-sex behavior. So that XQ28 gene, we're not talking about it anymore
Doesn't
because
doesn't
Yeah.
mean shit.
That is a sex-linked
Useless.
X
Gotcha.
chromosome gene. This one found that it was actually 5 non-sex genes
Oh.
that were actually the most significantly associated with same-sex behavior.
Wow.
So they've been suggested, these 5, to be involved in sex hormone regulation
Mm.
and olfaction, which olfaction is your sense of smell. So, Matt and Jackie, have you ever noticed that your sense of smell kind of pinpoints the same sex stuff? Have you ever smelled someone and went, hmm, I'm a little gay?
Are you saying that? Oh, okay.
I don't.
I thought something else. I thought you were saying that the nose is a good way to sense if someone else is gay.
Well, it's well, we because like, they're saying that these are involved in olfaction, which is the sense of smell. So maybe a type of gaydar is your sense of smell. Maybe you're picking up because it's also sex hormone production. So you're picking up on something that helps you kind of target acquired in a bar
Targeted.
from across the room. So because I know men smell, not all men, not all men.
Not all men.
Some men smell their natural body odor is very nice, and I enjoy it. Kink shame me if you want, but like, have
No, no.
either of
I'm really.
you
I'm really trying to
experienced
rack
that?
my head for experiencing that, especially as someone who, like, I guess essentially is translating to like pansexual, right? Like, I don't like. I'm trying to think of like in either example of either uh female relations or male relations, if I've experienced this. I don't know if I've had, but it does bring to mind. I remember seeing an advertisement at one point for a dating service, and it tried to pair you with a really good match based on natural body odor. So what you would do is you would like wear a shirt or like your sleeping shirt,
No,
whatever, something that you would really have your
no, 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 no.
musk
Please
and
no.
stink all over,
Must.
and you'd
Ew.
put it in a little Ziploc bag and then send it off. And based on like a quiz, your shirt would get sent to somebody else who matched that, and then vice versa. Like you would receive their shirt in
No,
response.
I want to
no, no,
receive
no, no.
someone's underwear instead.
No,
Is that?
no, 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 no.
Mm.
Matt, what about socks? You seem more like a sock
Oh
Oh, you
yeah,
seem
guy.
I
like a
would
sock kind
love
of guy.
that. No.
Yeah. But that does bring to mind. I can't think of specific things with like female relations that I've had where I've been like, ooh, hey girl, you smell
Hey
nice.
girl, you smell
Yeah.
gay. You
Yeah.
wanna
Oh,
you
Well,
wanna go to
that's the
Pound
other
Town?
Matt. Matt, have you ever experienced a sort of scent-based attraction to another man?
um,
Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I'm sorry.
I
no, like
I don't think so. I Yeah, I don't think so.
Right.
I think I just like dick.
Well, I'm gonna brush right by that. Another topic or a slightly adjacent topic that I thought about was, well, like, there's the business of perfume and colognes. If
yes.
you pick a stereotypically female perfume versus a man's cologne, you can kind of get a sense of what we're gonna smell like. A lot of men smell like leather, teak wood, um,
Avalanche,
but yeah,
cedar,
yeah,
smoke.
Okay, but no though.
damp
No.
forest water.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I don't believe this anymore because these man smells versus woman smells, like this is all society
Right.
driven.
It is. No, that is,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when society trains you to kind of pick up on those scents, if a woman likes the scent of, like, lavender, florals,
Hmm.
and then a woman growing up who's attracted to women smells that and associates that even on a subconscious level that women should smell like that or can smell like that. I think there might be a link there, but that's a mixture of obviously the genetic component of perhaps there is some sort of olfactory sense that's related to your same-sex behavior and society providing you with scents that are associated with same-sex, attraction. If you like women, then maybe you do like more floral stuff. Obviously, that's not true. It could be false, but I'm more just putting out the question. But given
Hmm.
that both of you seem to not have any sort of scent related stuff. I have some other ones here that I think some of you will vibe with.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hit
bring it.
me.
Bring it.
So those 5 were like the significantly associated ones, the ones that definitely passed their rigorous stats.
Okay.
But they found that there were many other ones that didn't didn't quite make it, but they say are associated with. They found it in enough people to associate it with same-sex behavior. So overlapping genetic variants included smoking, cannabis use, um, risk taking. Now, like, it's 2 a.m. You're on Grinder. The man with the body pic messages you. He's like, "You want to come over?" Now, any sane person knows you haven't seen this man's face. You don't know who he is. Who knows what's in his house? Who knows if he's a murderer? But there's that part of you that just goes, I could die tonight, but I think it's fine.
Would you die for dick?
I mean, some of us are out here risking it all.
This is true.
Yeah, so another one was the personality trait, quote unquote, openness to experience. So, do any of you have like a risk taking, open to experience vibe about you? Do you find yourself being
I
very
feel like Jackie
extroverted?
does. I feel like Jackie has this
Jack, what
adventurous
kind of risks
side.
you taken recently?
I can't think of any recently because I've been sick, but I feel like yeah, kind of I vibe with the adventure risk taking stuff a bit. Like I'm willing to I acknowledge, the risks, but then I am also willing to usually jump in feet first.
Right, right.
Jackie
Yeah.
just walks around barefoot. Did we talk about this?
Oh yeah, no, I do.
Can we talk about this?
Hookworms. I mean,
I don't really like. I mean, right now during the cold season, of course, I need shoes, but I mean,
yeah.
F shoes.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm pretty sure when me and Jackie were in college together, I'm pretty sure I've just seen her walking around campus barefoot, like
Yeah,
just
probably.
casually, and I'm like, what are
I
you
mean,
doing?
not like campus at large, but like
In the
you know,
dorm?
maybe,
Yeah, probably.
probably,
Oh.
yeah.
So she's
Dirty
taking the
dorm
risk
floors.
of
Yeah.
stepping on a heroin needle on a college campus. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not gonna out the college you went to just in case you don't want anyone knowing.
But I don't think that our
But that's
college
a
campus
reputable.
had heroin needles
That's a reputable place.
littered around, just
Yeah,
waiting for
just
any of us to just
strewn.
step on them.
Look, there could be heroin needles regardless of how reputable your school is.
I will say though, of the state that we're in, I
Yeah.
guess I can say it, right? No one cares where we live.
We're in no. Our podcast listeners
I
know
was
we're
gonna
in
say
New
you
Jersey.
mentioned
Okay, we're in Jersey. Like Jersey did have a high percentage of heroin users.
it does.
So I
Do you
don't know if it's
remember-
still true, but there was like a few years ago where it was like an epidemic almost.
Oh yeah, and Matt, do you remember when I won't name the cum, but we were in Atlantic City, and one of our friends was we were going to like where they were staying for the night, and we went to go cut through like a parking lot or a vacant lot, and he was like, no, don't walk through there. There's littered with needles.
Yeah, it's just heroin needles in this abandoned lot,
littered with
and
needles,
we're
and we were like, oh,
like,
okay.
well, better not go there then.
And
Welcome
you're like,
to
Jackie,
Atlantic
put some
City.
shoes on. Jesus.
I'm
Jackie
already
walking
like
through.
halfway across the lot barefoot.
Just bleeding out of your feet.
Yeah, guys, look at these shiny things.
Jackie's saying, "What? What are these? Does anyone else feel numb?"
So there were other sets of genetic variants, like groups that the genes kind of fell into, or that are believed to be influencing homosexual or same-sex behavior. But these are more like common ones, like sexual behavior, attraction, identity, and fantasies. Like there has been some genetic linkage to these kinds of traits, and they are obviously linked to your sexuality. So in this case, your same-sex behavior. So unsurprisingly, it looks like, given this paper, it's a multigenic polygenic response where there are a ton of genes that influence your sexuality. So when it comes to things like the Kinsey scale that exists in a binary where it's one or the other, and then just the gray area in between, it doesn't really match with this kind of system, because they are talking about same-sex behavior here, but they're not saying it's solely same-sex. They're saying any same-sex behavior. So it's less of a line and more of like a amorphous blob of ever shifting behaviors and like for me, for example, if I looked at the Kinsey scale, I would say, okay, I'm exclusively homosexual. I was almost saying heterosexual. Exclusively, I was like, homosexual.
2021 plot twist.
Yeah.
Am I hetero?
obviously I have not existed in every single situation that I'm going to in my life. So I don't know if there'll ever be a situation in which there would be like a hint of heterosexuality or more so.
Well,
So
between you
if,
and I,
well, Jackie,
different.
we already know.
Yeah.
The listeners don't, but we already know.
What are you
You
guys
know.
talking about?
Hey, Jackie,
It's
do you
okay.
wanna go to
Hey,
Pound Town?
you want to go to Pound Town?
For anyone who listened to this and did not listen to the last
Um,
episode, the Cyberpunk episode, you really are
you really
missing
got to
out.
go listen to it.
Oh my God. So yeah, the Kinsey scale having this kind of binary is a little bit archaic in today's understanding of what sexuality is, especially with the LGBTQ plus community, with all of the words under the umbrella. It's more of like a choose your own adventure at this
Yeah.
point.
Choose your own
Uh,
adventure.
the only thing I want to say about this paper now is that they did have like a couple other fun points they made. There was data showing that over time, there are a higher percentage of individuals reporting same-sex behavior, which I think is nice because over time, people should be more and more open. So it was like a graph of birth year versus like percentage of people reporting. And as you
Okay.
increase the birth year, you're getting more people reporting, which I was like, oh, nice.
Good.
Nice.
Like, I want people to be more out and about and free.
Yeah, that's.
There was, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's probably because more people are inclined to, yeah, be open about it. I don't think more people are gay than they were in the past. I think it's just that people are more likely to be open
Yeah,
about it.
right, right. I don't think it's like we found a hole of gay people and now they've sprung out of it and now there's just more in the population. I think it's more of like societal repression, religious driven repression,
Right.
Yes.
uh, that really just hampers the spirit and crushes the soul. But today, I think we're a little bit more socially aware in most countries. Hint,
Most.
hint, Bhutan,
I was
Yeah.
just gonna bring up Bhutan.
who might have some same-sex stuff happening.
I need to
Yeah.
look up the
Um,
update on that. I wonder if their
and
parliament
then
ever passed
you,
that law.
oh
Oh
yes,
yeah.
let me know. And then you have countries like Poland where it's a shit show, where you got
Mm.
areas of Poland you cannot be gay, areas where you're not allowed to express any sort of anything besides heterosexuality, or you are like fined, imprisoned, jailed. And it's wild because, I'm not saying Poland's the most progressive country in the world, but when I think of countries that are more oppressive, I don't normally think of Eastern European countries, but here we are in Poland. You're on watch. 2021 Poland, get your shit together.
Poland,
Get
get your
together.
shit together. What's
Get together.
happening? God.
And the last thing was there was also data showing, and this was kind of obvious, I think for me. It was two graphs, one for females, one for males, and it was showing that the more same-sex partners you had, the less likely you were to have, or the less number of children you were going to have. So if you had 0% same-sex partners, you were having a certain number of children. And as you had more same-sex partners, you were having less children. Now, obviously, there's like the reproductive component, like, two women, two men, normally on their own cannot produce a child. But also I think it's because when you are in a same-sex relationship, it's twofold where at one point there could be like some subconscious thing where it's like this is not a relationship about procreation. And then there could be another thing where it's just like children are awful. And
Yeah.
children are like
Yeah.
have any of you seen a child? Like
I
really
try
spent
not to.
time with a baby or a
No, I
child?
haven't seen
Really
one
try not to.
ever.
Like
Really try not to.
I love my younger brother to death. And when he was just born, he was great because you could swaddle a baby, you can put it down in this little
Throw
rocker
it
and then throw
Throw
it.
it.
Just, yeah.
out of sight.
And
Yep.
it's out of sight. But then when they hit like one and two and
Ugh.
three, it's just like, especially two and three, children are just like, no offense to all two of our listeners who have children, I'm sure, or want children, but wow, children are just
Or
terrible.
like the
Yeah.
two of our listeners who are children and listening to this and they're like, wow.
Oh my God, there was someone in like the low age range on Spotify who listened to us, and I was like, does your mother know?
Does your mother know?
Because someone just said they wanted to go to Pound Town. They can't listen to this.
I can't listen to this.
um, but yeah, so that's where we are today. We've got many genes that are associated with same-sex behavior, but honestly, it's just with something this complicated, it's a crapshoot. It's like genes, it's society, it's all wrapped up in a nice deformed blob.
Yeah. So did you find anything about the nature part of this? Sorry, nurture part of this, where something society based might cause it to, or the
I
way you're
didn't
brought up.
I didn't explicitly look for that, but I did see in this paper they talk about that there are societal components that we're not looking at, that they weren't looking at. Like they were like, here are the genes, but we are open into the understanding that society probably plays a role in affecting someone's sexual what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, you know,
Tation?
Orientation.
orientation, expression. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm sure there is. I didn't want to. This I've restrained myself this time. I found 2.5 papers. I bulleted it to like 4 pages, and I was like, wow, this is better than usual.
So concise this time. I'm proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
this was so
So
informative.
yeah,
Thank
Pat, I
you.
have questions for you.
Oh yes, shoot me.
Okay, so
Literally
it's
With the
kind of a
vaccine gun.
with the vaccine gun.
okay, I'm on my way. So before you found this research, what was your opinion on, gauging genes existences, and do you think that, it's one or many, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's many.
Jackie, were you not listening to the beginning of
Yeah.
this episode?
No, did he say at the beginning what he
Yes, I
thought?
did.
Did
I
you?
did.
What did you say? Where was
I
I?
think it's I. You were here.
Don't remember
All
this.
right, everyone who's listening, rewind to the beginning and just listen to the moment where Jackie just turns off her brain.
You just
There's an
you just like
audible, there's an audible click.
staring.
Click.
No, I thought before this that it must be polygenic. I don't think it's
Okay,
one gene, especially because of how varied the expression of same-sex behavior is. Just
okay.
within the gay community, like
It's a spectrum.
you got femme, dom, mask, you got everyone
Yeah,
in there, and I'm sure that has to relate with how they're raised, obviously, but also relate to what genes they're packing. I mean, what's you got? What's expressing in your body? What
right.
proteins you making? Like, I want to
Yeah.
know what that information is. Give
Show
me
me your
your
nice
23andMe.
cut
Me.
jeans. Yeah.
Nice. I mean your
Yeah.
bell
Yeah.
bottoms.
You
Oh
fell off.
my. So
So my
this. Oh, go ahead, Jackie.
oh, I was gonna ask, and maybe again you said this too, and I wasn't listening. Do you think it's beneficial to look at these genes and kind of find, are there quote gay genes? Like, what led you to
Right.
choosing this topic?
That's what like the original thing I was thinking of was like, does it even matter?
Yeah.
Because like yeah, the whole inquiry-based science exploration is nice.
Mhm.
You have a question, you just research it.
Yeah.
Even if there's no immediate kind of need for the research or immediate use for the data, it's still nice to know. So that was really why I was like, what? Like, why does it like why do people want to know?
I
Like,
disagree.
Right.
and I
I
couldn't
think it
find
can be useful to know this.
I don't think it's unuseful. I was just thinking before I researched this why people want it to. Like,
Right.
what's the reason why? So I'm assuming for the most part it is, just fact-based research trying to learn and how genetics plays a role in all of this. But also, I mean, I guess it's interesting because people say that homosexual same-sex behavior has been around probably for as long that people have been around in our species at least. So it's kind of interesting to see if you could kind of trace it back and see how far these genes actually go. And, there are these things like genetic clocks where you can determine when genes were introduced or when they actually became part of our genomes and things like that. So I think there's definitely a lot of good information you can learn about it. I don't know about the applications of the research in today's mind, but unless you want to genotype your child to see if they're going to be gay.
Well,
See,
I've got two things. I've got two things.
okay.
Yes.
One, homosexuality exists in more than just humans. It exists
Yeah.
in at
Yes,
least a
I
thousand other
know,
species.
but we're
I'm just
talking about humans.
I'm telling the podcast world about
Okay,
how
fine.
homosexuality exists in other species besides humans. So it's not just a human behavior. And my second thing is that also a big argument on people who are anti-LGBT will say that, oh, you are choosing this lifestyle. And being able to say, hey, I have this gene, like this means I was born this way instead of me choosing this lifestyle,
Lady
is a
Gaga.
great counter.
Just say Lady Gaga.
Mm.
Yep.
Lady Gaga is a great counter to people who are just thinking we're choosing to go against God and everything.
I mean,
To
I am,
sin.
but I am. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I look up at God and I'm like, this is for you.
This is for you.
Um,
Yeah.
no, I mean, that's nice to have that
It
kind of
is
data.
it's nice
Uh,
to have, but it also kind of makes me think about what you said, Pat, about looking at like a baby's genes and saying, "Well, is this one gonna be gay?"
yeah,
Because it kind of reminds me a lot of what you were saying about the research, and I don't know a whole lot about this, but the research to find the autistic genes
mhm.
and the
Mm.
risk that we potentially run when we're, forecasting a person's genetics and looking at like,
Yeah,
well, there's the autistic gene. Like as soon as we find it, the potential for it to be snipped out, like just cut that autism right out. And oh, there's the gay one too. So let's just, nix
right.
that one
That
too.
then that gets into the whole genetic editing thing, which
Yeah.
the whole CRISPR conversation, which as a
Yeah.
scientist, I'm tired of hearing about. Maybe we'll
Mm.
do a CRISPR episode
Please.
just because like as anyone who's in any like bio or biotech program has probably had like 8 billion seminars, presentations on this one topic. But to go back to what Matt said about kind of holding up your gay gene to the face of the people who say like you chose this, blah 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 blah. I think that's great, but I don't think they're gonna care. I think because they're living in their own ignorance bubble, they're not open to new information. They're not gonna look at if they're that Bible thumping, they're not gonna believe in genetics to begin with.
Hmm.
So I think it's good, but then also this paper even shows that all of these genes are associated with it, but you don't need them all to be gay. Like there's not one yet that we found that if you have it, you are gay or do experience same-sex behavior. So you could bring up the list and be like, I got 7 of them. So that explains it. But when it comes to those people, I don't think they're not open to suggestions. They don't have their suggestion box open. Like, hey, change my mind on homosexuality. They're not like that. They're like, I already know. I'm here to put you to hell and remind you of it daily. So, but yeah, there are other obvious good reasons to know this information. And then back to Jackie's point, there is a fear or like this unease about knowing all this genetic information because then you can kind of build your own baby, which goes against what I believe because I don't think you should have babies. So,
Oh,
Not at all. Okay.
did
That's
we did we see
amazing.
that one TikTok that was like it was like God talking to an angel, and the angel was like, God, I have a problem. It seems that humans have taken over Earth and are overpopulating it and destroying it. So God was
mm.
like, oh, okay, I have a solution. Make 1/3 of them gay, and then they'll stop overpopulating the
Yeah,
planet.
I mean,
Oh my God. I
And the
don't think I
angel was
saw that,
like,
but that's good.
all right, writing it down.
when I was young, that's what I thought. I was like, this is the perfect, like, if more people were gay, less babies, the world is saved.
Hmm.
Gays saved the day.
It really does concern me, our overpopulation, but that's a conversation for another
Yeah,
episode.
So I
maybe we
think
should talk about that in a different episode.
we're just about done. Matt, do you have a timer going to let me know?
Yes, we're at about 48 minutes. And
Great. So that's perfect length. I do love a perfect length.
God.
what's your perfect length? What is it?
48 minutes. So thank you for joining us. I hope everyone kind of found this fascinating. I certainly do as a
I do.
molecular
Yeah.
microbiologist. So, um, really quick, let's wrap up. But first, remember to like and subscribe on any podcast platform. On YouTube, we have a Twitter, WDTGT podcast, where we will post all of new episodes, questions we have for you, fun stuff, thirst tweets. And don't forget to follow Jackie, as I said before early in the episode, on Twitch at Jackie underscore the underscore bananas. I'm the XQ28 gene at the very tip of the X chromosome. Patrick. Matt, what would you like to say?
Oh, right. I'm Matt.
Jackie. And I'm going to pound.
And I'm going to bed.
The dick that's clipping out of the genes.
The
Yeah.
gene.
In Cyberpunk 2077, but also in like the genome. It's
The
funny that
genome.
way.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, I'm taking you to Pound Town. Yep. Yep.
Thank you for joining us. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye
Goodbye.
everyone.